So we all know what metal detectors are and how that works. We've all seen it, been through that many times as we travel through airports and internationally. This is a combination technology that we're introducing through Motorola and Evolv. And Kyle is going to be demonstrating that today for us from the Motorola side. And we're going to play a quick short video here that talks about Absco, a little bit of our history, and then I'll describe a few things, then we'll jump into the concealed weapons detection demo. So go ahead and play that, Jen. So that was a little bit about Absco Solutions, who we are in the marketplace. We are facility vulnerability experts. As you saw from the video, we've been around for about 45 years now and have a wide, diverse customer base spanning from government installations to places you shop every day. We are experts in this space, and we always look for newest and latest and greatest technologies that enhance our customers' security vulnerabilities. And today, again, we're talking about concealed weapons detection. And we are, if you guys don't know, it's a bit of a story. We won't go into it today, but Motorola Solutions is really changing the game when it comes to security. In years past, it's really been the integrators like Absco that have really done hard work to try and integrate different systems together to provide you guys the valuable security solutions you're looking for, whether that's a combination of access control and video, shooter detection systems, intrusion. What's historically been the way that business has been done is being changed by Motorola. They are creating a whole new ecosystem called Safety Reimagined, and concealed weapons detection is part of that ecosystem, which Kyle will go into again in more detail. But really, Motorola is leading the pack. There's nobody doing this. They are kind of creating a one-stop shop, if you will, from multiple systems, multiple disciplines, multiple security solutions under one main umbrella, where they're all integrated, working together the way they're supposed to, which alleviates a lot of the frustrations in functionality, support, maintenance, and all those things that we deal with in the real world. We are one of the few Avigilon elite partners. So there's only a handful of us in the country, and Absco has been blessed to be able to be one of those badge partners. This is kind of a quick little, you can meet a few of us. These are our account executives, our president, Mr. Tom Whitaker, who spent years at Honeywell Fire Systems as well. We've got Kyle Kolish today doing the presentation, and we got full support from Motorola. It's a large corporation, a lot of support, and we're excited to be able to demonstrate some of their new offerings to you today. Next slide, please. All right.
Are you prepared? In today's world, safety and security are top priorities for all organizations. Concealed weapons detection technology uses advanced sensors and AI to detect a wide range of concealed weapons and threats. Concealed weapons detection operates up to 10 times faster and is far more effective than traditional screening methods, while providing a touchless experience. Concealed weapon detection. Protecting your employees, guests, and facilities.
And with that quick introduction, I will hand it over to Mr. Kyle Kolish, who will dive into some more details about how concealed weapons detection works.
Thank you so much, Chad. Appreciate the handoff, and thank you to the whole Absco team for having me on today. Really excited to go through the solution with you.
Well, excited.
Yes, that's what we like to hear. Well, we're going to go through a lot, and we're going to make this, I think, abbreviated. Obviously, for those who want to explore this more, the best route is to work with your representative at Absco, and then to have a support in the exploration process. But in this webinar, I'd like to go through a few things to update everybody on what's new in the concealed weapons detection world. We're going to cover why CWD exists, the problems we saw that we sought out to solve. We're going to go through an overview of the system, how it works, how to use it, and then we're going to talk about the ACC integration. If you currently have an Avigilon Control Center deployment, there's some really key abilities you'll unlock by integrating it with CWD. And of course, we're going to leave some time for Q&A at the very end as well. So with that, let's get right into it. So why CWD? Well, there were a couple of issues we saw with what we'd call legacy metal detection systems out there in the market today, and these are the big ones. The first thing we saw is if you've ever been to a game of some sort or been through metal detectors, you know that they're slow moving. You get waved through one at a time, which causes a couple of problems. One of them is it takes a long time to get in, which is a poor experience for the customer. The second thing is it's a safety concern because there's long lines backed up behind the metal detectors, which creates a large amount of soft targets outside of the secure facility everyone's trying to get into. That was problem number one. Number two was a high false alarm rate. Metal detectors, for the most part, don't have any intelligence built in, which means they flag on anything from somebody's keychain to perhaps a mass casualty weapon. And we wanted to fix that and alarm only on the things that truly mattered. Also, we saw that with metal detectors, it required a large amount of staff to man and supervise them, which obviously costs a lot if you need to pay each one of those security officers to man that station. So with something smarter and more effective, we can reduce the cost of having to pay for a large amount of staff. And all in all, we also saw that there was just a general poor experience. A lot of facilities, it felt like you were walking into not necessarily a fun, uplifting game environment like a stadium, but maybe walking into a high security prison, and we wanted to avoid that. So how do we go about solving them? Well, here's what we did. We partnered up with a company called Evolv, and we put together what we call a concealed weapons detection unit. We're going to see what that looks like here in just a second. But these are the main features I would argue come with a CWD. There's a respectful, touchless, no frisking required walkthrough type of experience. There's an AI-empowered platform, a system that gets smarter and smarter and can be altered in terms of sensitivity to the weapons that you want to know about for people walking into your facility. There's the ability for massive throughput, especially compared to old metal detectors. We've got a few stadiums that use these around the West Coast, especially, that can pump through 3,600 people per hour, which is wonderful. We talked earlier about how having a large staff is a general issue. Well, these are super easy to operate. It takes 1 or 2 people max to have a CWD system up and running, which means you drastically reduce your costs to have a really, really secure facility on the entryway. And we also made sure to integrate this with ACC. And I'm going to explain and show that as well, because if you're an Avigilon customer, you know there's some really powerful analytics you can get from your cameras. Why not have your concealed weapons detection also give you useful alarms and alerts, whether it's to your security operations center or maybe a Motorola radio on somebody's hip, and just improve the overall proactive response rate and security of your facility. So let's move along and see what this actually looks like. A couple of examples here for you to see. And as we play this video, I can walk through. So obviously we've got a game day here going on, and we've got people coming through at a high rate. You'll hear that little ding going off on the unit. I'll explain what that is. I have people waiting behind this thing, and we've only got a few guards happening in it. Okay, what did we just watch? Well, obviously on the left, we have what would be considered old school metal detector type units. These are, all right, come on through one at a time, put your hands up, put your keys in the bin, that sort of thing. Well, on the right is a concealed weapons detection unit. People walk through, that's a dual lane system. What you're looking at is one lane. So either of those towers posts up. The little kind of eyeball looking things at the top are actually built-in cameras. So as somebody walks through, they're just gestured through the system. They just walk through at a normal pace. They don't have to get rid of anything. They can keep their bags on. They don't have to take things out of their pockets or take their belts off or their shoes. They keep everything they've got. And the tower is going to read for not just metal, but certain shapes and sizes of metal as well. So what we're looking for are mass casualty weapons, things like pipe bombs, assault rifles, things of that nature. And the system has AI that's going to look for things that are barrel shaped or pipe shaped and things like that. So as they walk through, it'll read instantaneously. If there's no issue, they walk through no problem. If somebody got alerted, it will then pipe a red alarm. You'll see here there's the single and the double lane. So somebody walks through, those blue bars on either tower will light up red. We can have it set a small little noise, and then one of the officers who's posted up there can gesture that person aside really gently and say, hey, it looks like something flagged this system. We'll need to make sure it's not an issue. So really seamless experience, effortless, low impact on the customer experience, but super smart and powerful and highly sensitive for the things that matter. That's the whole point. We wanted to combine both. Then if we can move on from here. So I kind of described this, but this is how the system would actually look in terms of a concept of operation. Now, one thing I will tell you is that compared to maybe what you're used to with metal detectors or a frisking type of operation, this will require a little bit of a change in how you've set up. We've done this with entryways at hospitals and schools and stadiums, so it can be configured for whatever entry point you're working with. But the goal is to have something like what you're looking at here. So at the bottom of the screen, they walk across that pad in between the two towers. There's a secondary screening station and an operator looking at a tablet. The tablet, which we're going to take a closer look at in a second, is actually going to show each person walking through, and then the AI will throw a bounding box around the area of their person where the potential weapon was detected. So this kind of concept of operation is what allows for super high throughput. People who don't have anything of interest just keep walking, and those who might be an issue get pulled aside for further screening. Let's move on from here. So in the background, right, kind of like I described, there's a couple of things going on. As the system detects a weapon, it's going to send an alert into one of two places, or both if you'd prefer. One of them is that tablet that the security operator is looking at. The other one can be your Avigilon control center. So you've got different angles approaching this. You've got the camera on the tower, which can get a snapshot of whoever it was that walked through, if you need that for evidence later, or if they're on a watch list. If they're a known offender, you don't want coming into your property. And then you've got it logged in your ACC center as well for later evidence management. If you have the right Motorola radios, you can get this punched through as an alert. So if a guard on one part of the building needs to know if somebody walks through with a weapon, it can go straight to their radio as a text alert. And then, like I said, we obviously have the tablet alert as well. Jen, let's move on to the next slide. Looking at this compared to metal detectors, in my opinion, it kind of becomes a no-brainer. So we broke this down in terms of an ROI. And I'm not going to read all the numbers, but you can see, even just visually, how much of a drastic difference this can make for even a single entrance on a property. You're looking at a massive reduction in workforce from 18 to 4 to 7 guards needed to man this. And you're looking at more people, faster, easier. So if you compare this to a typical metal detection scenario, there's really no comparison. Now, a lot of times people will ask me, well, I don't have any metal detectors currently, so this isn't a fair comparison. That's totally fine. My question would be, what is it you're doing to prevent mass casualty weapons from walking through the front door? And if your answer is nothing, I guess that's another conversation. If your answer is, well, we have somebody waiting there, or we've got a frisking station, just imagine this would replace that. This would replace that station. You'd have something smarter and stronger for that entry point. This could be for visitors. This could also be for employees. There's multiple use cases for this kind of deployment. All right, let's keep going, Jen. So a lot of times too, I'll have people ask me, well, so what kind of weapons will this actually detect? Here's a great chart that shows what the system is going to be looking out for. Now, full disclosure, this is not something that would be suitable for like an airport, for example, that needs to detect every little thing. This is not designed for that. We'll go down to micro compact handguns, small pipe bombs, and small tactical knives. You'll see that down at level E. And that's what we'll alert on. The things we're really looking for are mass casualty. So is somebody going to walk into a facility with, you know, a 2-inch switchblade and, you know, target or take out hundreds of people at a time? Probably not. But if somebody comes in with a pressure cooker bomb or some sort of large firearm, that is a massive concern. So the system is mostly looking for that. Now you have full customizability for your deployment on how much you want to see. So if you'd like to get everything possible, we up the sensitivity, those will come through. If you just need to know about certain sized weapons, we alter the sensitivity as needed. We find most people want to be right around level D or E for what they want to get readouts on, but that obviously is customizable for you. Let's go to the next slide. And AI is a really important part of this. So the main point I'll get across here as you're reading this, it's a lot of text. What I'll tell you is that your system will get smarter. So this is going to be a cloud connected system integrated across every deployment in the country. So as firearms go through or weapons go through a system, that's going to get uploaded to our cloud, what we call Cortex. And that's going to make every system around smarter. As you get firmware updates that get automatically pushed out, your system will get better and better at detecting all the kinds of weaponry out there. And what's cool is that that means for the life of your product, you're going to have something that continues to improve. Just like if you're a like an iPhone user like myself, you know, sometimes I'll wake up and it'll say, hey, your iPhone updated while you were sleeping. Here's the cool new features you got. That's the kind of thing you can expect from this system as well. Jen, let's go ahead and move forward. And let's look at the ACC integration. So this is what will be unique for those of you who use Avigilon. You're obviously familiar with the Avigilon alarm system, having analytics punch through notable events like trespassing, loitering, or license plate recognition. We'll think of this as another plugin. So at your head end, you've got Avigilon running, and as people are walking through this system, you'll get alerts and alarms from the CWD system as well. You can see here on this tablet, what I described earlier is that bounding box. So we know that this gentleman's walking through, looks like around his shoulder, maybe in that part of his backpack, he's got a weapon on him. So my security guard at the front is going to pull him aside. I've got a snapshot of him right here. I've got photo evidence of who this is. And I've got my guard doing what he needs to do with him. And then we're going to categorize the threat here. So if it was a knife or a gun, we'll click that. That's what's going to upload to the cloud and make the system smarter. And if it was something that I'm not interested in, like an umbrella or headphones, we'll do that as well, right? So we refine the AI. The system is sensitive for things that look like a weapon. So if you think about it, the barrel of a gun and the long stem of an umbrella have some similarities. So that's why that will sometimes get caught up in the system. Let's keep going, Jen, to the next one. And we're going to let this play. I'm going to narrate it as we go along, but this is going to be a real world example of how this would actually look. So there's our tablet. We've got ACC running on the laptop. Our sales engineer here was working on his flux capacitor earlier, and now he's going to grab the weapon here. We're going to walk through the system. It's going to flag red. You'll see an alarm come up on the tablet right there. There's the bounding box on him. We've got a face match. And actually, if we can pause here, Jen, I'm not sure if it pauses here at the end. Let's pause. Thank you. Okay, so two things just happened. Walked through the tower, flagged up. We've got an alert on the tablet, classifying the weapon. And then Avigilon threw up an alarm as well under a focus of attention. That's what you're seeing here, dual-sided. All right, let's keep playing the video. Now we've classified that as a weapon. We've got that as an alarm here in ACC. And now obviously security operator here at the station can do what they need to do with this video footage. Export it to authorities or save it, whatever it is we need to do. All right, let's move on from here. So I explained this, but for those of you who'd like a little more in-depth, basically the program's going to work just like any other alarm from your video system. It's going to get punched through. Your alarms are customizable however you'd like them to be. If you have orchestrate, they can get piped out to anybody with a Motorola radio, as well as being on your software head end. And next slide, please, Jen. Let's look at some real world applications. All right, a couple of things going on here. So there's a few places we've done this really successfully, and I think they're notable use cases. One of them is the Biltmore Estate. If you're familiar with that, they used to be owned by the Rothschild family, and that was out, I'm sorry, the Vanderbilts, and that was out in North Carolina. They decided to replace all their metal detectors with CWD at the entrances, which is what they use for their visitors. There's a large casino here in Washington State that deployed this system last year. They've got a couple of dual lanes at each of the guest entrances. Within the first month of putting the system in, they prevented over 400 firearms from entering their building, which was huge for them, obviously. And then you'll see here at the Space Needle, we've got some really sketchy guy with sunglasses, probably not to be trusted, trying to walk up the gangplank here. And you'll see I'm holding a couple of different objects in that image. So those are the kinds of things you would expect to flag. I'm holding a little flashlight there, which very well could alert the system. And I'm holding a dummy gun as well. The Space Needle is a great account of ours. They have a Vigilon deployed as well. The system plugs right into their ACC deployment, and they've used it for many different scenarios there at that monument. All right, let's keep going. Wanted to provide these for you guys here as we're wrapping up. So you probably are asking a lot of questions. All right, how much does the system cost? What would it look like for us to deploy this? How much engineering is required? How much training is required? Those are all things we can certainly answer in the Q&A. And I'd also be happy to provide these as data sheets and more for you to take home and look at. This is something we fully support. So you'd have Absco supporting you. You'd have our Motorola engineering team supporting this. We'd want to make sure these deployments go really well for you and that you're plugged in with ACC, that the system does what you need it to do. And so any more information you need from us, we are more than happy to provide. And with that, I'm done with my monologue. I think we'll open it up for Q&A.
Perfect. Thank you, Kyle. So it seems fairly portable. Would you consider this a portable solution?
So I think I didn't answer that. So good question, Chad. So the answer is it can be absolutely portable. In fact, if we go back, Jen, can you go back 2 slides, please? Yes. Okay. So if you look at the towers, kind of by my feet here as I'm walking up, you'll see these little blue wheels. So the system is totally portable. It can be lifted up, rolled around. It can also be bolted down if you'd like it to be more secure. So we have some customers that'll roll these out for like a game day. They'll use them and then they'll pack them up and stow them away when they don't need them. So the answer is they can be portable, absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hey, Kyle, Morgan here. What's calibration look like and setup? So if I do make it, I trundle these away and put them in a closet for a week, next week's game. What's my setup time like the following week?
Right. So like going from out of the box to up and running.
Yep.
So I would tell you, Morgan, for you, you probably want to carve out 8 hours, but for everyone else, just an hour or 2 is fine.
Thanks, Kyle.
Vote of confidence for you.
Yeah. Fine in sales.
Yes, I think the first time you build this thing, it's like a Lego set. You have to kind of put it together. But once it's been configured, the system can get up and running in just a couple hours.
I have a question. My name's Toby. I'm from Central Kitsap School District. You mentioned that it looks for shapes of guns or the shape of a gun. Does it? So like we have students. Their ingenuity is kind of crazy. What if they printed a 3D gun? Would it detect that sort of thing? The plastics?
Good question, Toby. This is becoming more and more important, right? Because as you're right, people get really, really creative. So the answer to that is 60%. So there's some polycarbonate weapons out there that are part plastic, part metal. It won't detect a fully 3D printed, entirely plastic gun because there's no metal. But as long as there's 60% of its metal, it'll pick up on that. Now, I expect that'll change as the AI grows and develops, and we'll be able to pick it up fully plastic very soon.
Okay, thanks so much.
But yeah, good question, Toby.
And I think it's probably also important to remind everybody listening that will just get pushed down as part of your solution as the system gets smarter, as more threats become different methods that people develop. It'll be Motorola's job to do its best to improve AI and improve technology and push that down through the cloud.
So when the system first rolled out, for example, it wasn't really, it had a lot of false alarms on things like umbrellas or headphones, and that's been basically disbanded now. So the system got better and better. Same with like walkers. Walkers at first were kind of tricky. Now the system differentiates.
So, this may be a tough question just because of the marketplace and where this might be deployed. If we've got a lot of customers that don't have security guards, that don't have people, just sitting there waiting for, like just look at a school, there's main opening and main closing of the school times that could be staffed pretty easily. But what about the times when there isn't? Is there a way to use the system still if you do not have a security guard stationed, or can that security guard be mobile and they can come and address if the alarm goes off? How would you describe that scenario?
I would say, Chad, that technically yes, but we don't recommend it. So I'll preface this by saying, if you had somebody who was distant and they weren't at the tower and somebody walks in with a weapon, okay, now what? You have them go chase this person down after they've already walked into your facility and potentially caused damage or loss of life. Not what we recommend. So we really recommend having somebody at the station to man it, because the whole point is to prevent something terrible from happening in the first place. That being said, technically the system will push out alarms if you have ACC or orchestrate to your ACC client or a radio. So if somebody's in the next room, they could get an alarm when somebody walks through with a weapon and choose what they do with that. But again, it's really not how the system is designed. The whole point is to prevent that from ever going beyond the front door.
Can we integrate with access control to lock down that front door so they cannot get any further into the building?
That's what we call a man trap. And
Yeah.
as long as you have ACC, we could absolutely do that. So the alarm would come through, set an automatic integration up with the ACM and lock a door. Yep.
Perfect. One of the questions Rob Pinnell asked, who's a engineer designer of systems for security, is what about non-Avigilon systems? Does this Evolv product integrate at all with other systems that are not Avigilon?
The Evolv system, which is not one we sell, can integrate with other software platforms. CWD is designed to integrate with ACC. My return question would be, what platform are you running with? If you're willing to share, Rob, I can speak to that more specifically. I don't expect that now, but that could be another conversation.
Sure.
Assuming these are battery powered, what do charging times look like? How long do batteries run without needing a charge? These are not battery operated. They plug into a wall. So you're going to want to have a power source nearby to run them into. So no need for batteries. Depends on the client. Multiple systems from Galaxy to Linnell to S2. Evolv's designed to plug into Genetec and Milestone. I'm not sure about Galaxy. My experience with Galaxy has been they're not super integratable. Linnell and S2 I'd have to look into as well. But probably through a Genetec Linnell or Milestone Linnell integration, yes, you could tie those together. Those two systems tend to do that. Network requirements. Sorry, I hope you guys don't mind. I'm just running through the chat here.
Go for it.
Okay, great. Yeah, I love it. Keep them coming, guys. This constant stream is great. Network requirements, wireless or wired. The tablet to the tower is wireless. And then you're probably asking, what about back to the head end? So that will be wired, just PoE. But we can do wireless as well. I'd like to know the landscape. So we'd probably want to look at the specific situation there. And then perfect, thanks. Thank you, and you're very welcome. And thank you, Liz. Yes, a survey would be wonderful, and we can send out data sheets as well. I noticed it seems like we've got a few questions around integrations, specifically with access control. So my recommendation would be if you have questions around that, let's take a look at, because I don't want to make any blanket statements and then put my foot in my mouth. So it'd be good for us to better understand what your current system parameters are, and then we can make a more specific recommendation.
Perfect.
Hey,
Any other
Kyle?
questions out there?
Yeah, hey, Kyle Morgan again. Question for you. I noticed during the slide, you had a slide of a gentleman in a wheelchair coming through. What about other types of the transportation, like gurneys or so forth for, let's say you're at a hospital or something like that?
Yes. So we found that anything that's kind of got that, yeah, like a wheelchair, gurney, it can kind of depend, but if it's got a barrel or blade shaped like build, then it's likely that it will flag the system. The system kind of errs on the side of better safe than sorry.
Sure. So if someone comes through a gurney, it's going to go off no matter what, because he sees the tubes of the frame, and it says, "Hey, look at this." That
Totally.
basically. Okay, got it.
And then usually what we see is it'll put a bounding box, you know, down by the wheel or something on the gurney. And so the operator there can say, oh, well, that's obviously not a weapon. That's the gurney.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Kyle, I got another question. This is Toby again. You mentioned, I asked a question about network requirements. You said it was wireless to the tablet that the security guard or whoever's holding, but you need a wired connection from the detection equipment directly to your network, correct?
Correct. PoE.
PoE. All right, that's what I need to know. Thanks.
Does speed matter? It is really single file. We don't want two people walking through at the same time, right? As far as just the flow of traffic is concerned.
Single file is important because if they run side by side, it can get confusing on who is actually got the weapon on them.
Mm-hmm.
So single file, but we do find, normal walking speed is more than fine. Like that video earlier, I thought that, the video kind of was perfect for showing what a appropriate speed would be.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, single file. So if people expect, wow, we're gonna have a lot coming in, maybe a dual lane would be ideal. Or you can just, teach people, yeah, still single file, but just walk through like normal. A lot of times people will see this for the first time and they think they have to walk through it like a metal detector.
Right.
So you just kind of teach, nope, just walk through, don't need to put your hands up, just do your thing. Can you expand a single lane to a dual lane? Absolutely. The difference between the single and the dual lane is just one extra tower. The single lane has the main unit and then that, left or right wing tower. So if you wanted to add, you would just put another tower on and plug it in.
Good to know. Any other use case scenarios that, I mean, that 400 firearms in the first month is shocking. I would have never guessed there was that many weapons going through a known facility. That's shocking. Is there any other examples that you can share of success stories?
Isn't that crazy?
It is.
Yeah, they were pretty astounded. I think the Space Needles are a great one. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, Chad, on what they had before and after, but we could certainly ask.
Okay.
I know they've been super pleased with the system. They were one of the original pilots.
Gotcha.
Yeah. How does the system hold up to a baseball bat? Because it's wood, the baseball bat shouldn't flag the system. Again, that would be a weapon we wouldn't see somebody causing mass casualty with, so the system isn't designed to pick up those. Unless it was a metal baseball bat, vandalism question.
Abuse, destruction.
Right, going into waxing things.
I think you might mean going into whack the unit.
Yeah, he means abusing trying to break.
Oh, I see. How does the system hold up to being beaten by a baseball bat?
Right.
To be honest, Nathan, I haven't tried that because I would like to remain employed here. So I haven't taken a baseball bat to it myself.
Is there any kind of rating on the unit or vandal resistance at all? Maybe we can look into that and see if we can send that back out to the.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't. I mean, the outdoor rated ones I can tell you are dang tough. I mean, they're dang heavy, but I don't know exactly how we've measured it against that, so I can look into that. Can we test the baseball bat? Well, Rob, it sounds like you're eager for it, so I'd say sure.
Rob, you just have to buy one
figure
and
it
then you
out.
can do it.
That's good.
Yeah, we'll give Rob the loaner. Can't wait to see the face on my boss's face when I give it back to him. Here you go. I just took it for a small test drive.
So two of the gentlemen that are speaking are engineers, designers. So if they were to recommend this to a customer, does Motorola come out and set it up? Does Absco do it? How does that work? What's the setup? Like the first time, is that supported by Motorola or is that an integrator led setup?
It'll be a team effort. So yep, we will do it together. We'll do a site design walk. So we'd walk the property with you or the area you feel like you want the unit. And then our engineering team will put together a full design and quote with the needed parts. And then we'd come out, Motorola and Absco together, and spend a day setting up and configuring and commissioning the system for you. Which is usually what we find is it takes about a day the first time.
Looks like Joe's gonna head out to the Space Needle and take a bat to it and see how it does.
I can't wait to see you on the news, Joe.
Any other questions out there before we wrap up for the day? Perfect. Well, was the cost for, do you have some rough costs, MSRP?
Oh, yes. People are always wondering. So you said single and double and treat. So there's two ways to buy the unit, and the pricing is different for each. So, and all I can give you is round numbers from MSRP, so this won't count the whole deal. But for a subscription, it's going to be around 60 to 80K for a dual lane, 40 to 50 for single, and then buying the unit outright will be somewhere between 110 and 130 is what we find.
So there is a subscription model.
There is a subscription model as well.
Gotcha.
The system can be purchased and owned outright, or it can be a subscription.
Rob, I will take care of your request for an Avigilon ACS and CCTV integration, not a problem.
Okay, any other questions for us while we're here?
And I guess to speak about the future, I mean, we've got some future webinars coming up, but just if you can visualize, true integration with these types of scenarios, our job as integrators is to make an event as least impactful and casualty wise, damage wise to property, patrons as possible, and consider the integration between gunshot detection, weapon detection, access control, video, radios, getting immediate alerts, recording of those events into some sort of a repository for proof and evidence, all happening simultaneously. This is the vision of safety reimagined by Motorola. And this is why Absco heavily promotes Motorola. We know where they're going, we know what's coming, and what they're doing is really very impressive. And we know the safety and security of our customers are in good hands with Motorola's solutions. So we appreciate you guys learning more about Motorola's weapons detection. And any questions, always reach out to any of our account executives that feel free to call us anytime. More than happy to set up personal demos or get more detailed information to you. As you can see